In the mid-1970s, California embodied the American dream. But beneath this tranquil surface, a predator was hunting. He moved through neighborhoods like a shadow, watching, waiting, learning routines. He would become known by many names: the Visalia ransacker, the East Area rapist, the original Night Stalker, and finally, the Golden State Killer. For over a decade, this one man would terrorize the state, committing at least 120 burglaries, over 50 rapes, and 13 murders before vanishing into oblivion. For 40 years, his identity remained one of California's most maddening mysteries. This is the story of Joseph James DeAngelo, a former police officer, a Vietnam veteran, a grandfather, and one of America's most prolific serial criminals. Between 1974 and 1975, the quiet community of Visalia was plagued by a bizarre crime wave. Over 120 burglaries occurred in a 3-mile radius, earning the perpetrator the name the Visalia ransacker. The intruder didn't just steal. He meticulously ransacked homes, stealing personal items like jewelry and photographs, leaving behind a trail of violation and fear. The crimes escalated on September 11, 1975. Professor Claude Snelling was shot and killed while preventing a man from kidnapping his 16-year-old daughter. The suspect kicked the daughter 3 times in the face before fleeing. My father caught him twice peering in my bedroom window. I was awakened by an intruder in a ski mask who pointed a gun at my head. He said he was taking me with him, and if I made any noise, he would kill me. During this very period, Joseph James DeAngelo served as a police officer in Exeter, just 10 miles from Visalia. Unbeknownst to his colleagues, he was allegedly on the task force hunting the Visalia ransacker while being the ransacker himself. DeAngelo moved to the Auburn Police Department in 1976, but was fired in 1979 for allegedly stealing a hammer and a can of dog repellent, items that could be of use to a burglar. He used his expert knowledge as a police officer to commit his crimes, find his victims, and then escape. He knew how everything operated, how long it took to respond to the scene where they would set up their blockades. In the summer of 1976, shortly after DeAngelo moved to the Sacramento area, a new terror emerged. The East Area rapist began targeting women, often living alone in single-family homes. His method was chillingly consistent. He would stalk victims for days, sometimes breaking in beforehand to leave twine he would later use to tie them up and unlock windows for easy entry. Standing up in front of me was this man with a ski mask on, holding a large butcher knife. It was sheer terror. I was frozen in fear beyond description. The East Area rapist employed sophisticated psychological torture. He would surprise couples in bed by shining a flashlight in their faces, tie up the man, and pile dishes on his back. He told them he would kill everyone in the house if he heard the plates crash while he raped the woman. This technique showed his desire for complete control over his victims. The predator taunted authorities. In March 1977, Sacramento police received calls from a man claiming to be the East Area rapist. "I have my next victim already stalked and you guys can't catch me." That same day, the 15th attack took place. In December 1977, the Sacramento Bee and the mayor received letters with a poem titled "Excitement's Crave," including the phrase, "Sacramento should make an offer to make a movie of my life that will pay for my planned exile." On February 2nd, 1978, the pattern of rape suddenly escalated to murder. Brian and Katie Maggiore were shot dead while walking their dog in their Rancho Cordova neighborhood. The couple had encountered a man wearing a ski mask and holding a gun. After Brian was shot, Katie ran away yelling for help, but DeAngelo caught up with her and shot her in the head. He had no idea how much Katie and Brian were loved. They have remained alive in all our hearts. In late 1978, the attacks expanded to the Bay Area before moving south. The killer now had a new name, the original Night Stalker. His crimes became even more violent. On December 30th, 1979, Dr. Robert Offerman and clinical psychologist Deborah Manning were found shot dead in their Goleta home. It was the start of a much more violent crime spree in Southern California. Manning was bound, raped, and shot twice in the head, while Offerman was bludgeoned and shot 4 times. Her future was stolen, her friends would later say. In March 1980, attorney Lyman Smith, 43, and his wife Charlene, 33, were murdered in their Ventura home. Charlene was raped before being killed. The couple was bludgeoned to death with a fireplace log. The walls were splattered with blood and gray matter. The bed was saturated with bodily fluids. Gary gently lifted the corner of the comforter to find my dad face down in the pillow cemented to the fabric by blood. In August 1980, Keith Harrington, a 24-year-old medical student, and his wife Patrice, a 27-year-old pediatric nurse, were beaten to death in their Laguna Niguel home. On February 5th, 1981, 28-year-old Manuela Withoon was bound, raped, and bludgeoned to death while home alone in Irvine. Her body was found by her father. For years, Manuela's husband lived with scrutiny and suspicion that he may have been involved. DNA later proved it was a serial killer, but David died before DeAngelo was identified. In July 1981, Cherry Domingo, 35, and Gregory Sanchez, 27, were killed in Goleta. Sanchez was shot and bludgeoned in the head 24 times. DeAngelo then bound Domingo, raped her, and beat her in the head more than 10 times. If I had my way, he would be shivering, blindfolded, naked, and exposed every moment from now on. After the July 1981 murders, the attack stopped abruptly. For 5 years, there was silence. Then, on May 4th, 1986, 18-year-old Janelle Cruz was raped and beaten to death in her Irvine home. I wonder if he remembers Janelle, my sister, fighting him off. She was beaten beyond recognition and needed a closed casket funeral. I hope he rots. Then, nothing. The Golden State Killer had vanished. The cases grew cold, becoming the subject of detective squad room lore and fading from public memory. For decades, the victims' families waited for answers that never came. The case might have faded into obscurity if not for true crime writer Michelle McNamara, who became obsessed with finding the Golden State Killer. That's why I just don't think this is like pure sexual sadism. I think there was something else. Michelle McNamara had a passion for true crime. She was hot on the trail of the Golden State Killer. She was writing a book about him. McNamara gave the killer his most famous name, the Golden State Killer, and her book brought national attention back to the cold case. Tragically, she died in 2016 before seeing the case solved. Once everyone was asleep, she was on that laptop. There is a breed of men and women that are just wired to pursue these people and keep going when other people would have gone, "Oh, I gotta go live my life." The break in the case came from a revolutionary technique: investigative genetic genealogy. Crime scene DNA was analyzed and compared to publicly available genealogy databases. Investigators found a distant relative, a probable fourth cousin, then built a massive family tree with over 1,000 names. They narrowed it down based on age, location, and other characteristics. We built this massive family tree with 1,000+ names on it, and from that family tree, we investigated and looked at everybody. We were able to narrow it down to 3 people, and lo and behold, he was one of them. Investigators placed DeAngelo under surveillance and collected his DNA from a tissue discarded in his trash can. The sample directly matched the crime scene DNA. On April 24, 2018, 72-year-old Joseph James DeAngelo was arrested at his home in Citrus Heights, California, the same area he had terrorized as the East Area rapist decades earlier. Dressed in a t-shirt, cargo shorts, and tube socks, a shocked DeAngelo offered no resistance when detectives moved in after he stepped into his yard, but he protested in a high-pitched voice, "I have a roast in the oven." In the interrogation room, DeAngelo sat alone for nearly 2 hours, drawing in large gulps of air. Investigators offered him a can of Dr. Pepper, the same drink he'd left behind at several crime scenes. He didn't touch it, likely fearing he'd leave his DNA. Alone in the room, DeAngelo began talking to himself, revealing what prosecutors called a fabricated split personality defense. "I didn't have the strength to push him out. He made me, he went with me. It was like in my head. I mean, he's a part of me. I didn't want to do those things. I pushed Jerry out and had a happy life. I did all those things. I destroyed all their lives. So now I've got to pay the price." He was trying to present this mental defense of a split personality, where he was blaming Jerry for taking over. He didn't realize that his mental defense didn't work, because this wasn't the first time he tried it. On June 29, 2020, DeAngelo pleaded guilty to 13 counts of first-degree murder. The plea deal spared him the death penalty in exchange for life in prison without the possibility of parole. In August 2020, DeAngelo was confronted in court by rape survivors and relatives of those he had killed over 3 days of victim impact statements. Joe spending the rest of his life in prison is not justice. Justice is not possible in this case. I've listened to all your statements, each one of them, and I'm truly sorry to everyone I have hurt. Thank you, Your Honor. My greatest hope for all of these victims and their families, perhaps, is best put in their own words. The greatest revenge is to live your lives. Paint your children's and your grandchildren's rooms again with hearts and rainbows. Water ski again. Know that the monster of your childhood or your younger years is gone forever and will die alone in the dark. What creates such a predator? Prosecutors uncovered a traumatic childhood that may have contributed to DeAngelo's pathology. We found out that in his personal life, he felt like he didn't have control or power. For example, when he was a young boy, he witnessed his little sister get raped by 2 military service members, and he was held down and had to watch that. His parents constantly beat him, and many of the victims talked about how small his penis was. So when we arrested him, We did a search warrant to take pictures of his penis, and it was micro-penis. He felt very small and powerless all his life. When he went in and raped and tied up people, he was drinking their beer, eating their food in their home, violating their marriage. He would take one earring and leave the other behind. He would take the wedding band. And when he would bludgeon them to death, he was playing God over their lives. A statement from DeAngelo's sister, read in court, put some blame on their father, who she described as an abuser and a womanizer. One of the most powerful moments came when victim Jane Carson Sandler brought someone special to the sentencing. I've brought somebody here with me today that was also a victim, and her name is Bonnie. Bonnie was DeAngelo's ex-fiancée who had broken up with him decades earlier. Prosecutor Tien Ho described the significance. The Golden State Killer is all about control, and so here was Bonnie, who he couldn't control because she dumped him, and Bonnie stood there, and they both stared at him. When Bonnie was brought into the courtroom, I looked at him, and his breathing had stopped. DeAngelo's capture revolutionized criminal investigations. He was the first public arrest obtained through genetic genealogy, a technique that has since identified over 150 suspects. The technique takes DNA from an unknown suspect left at a crime scene and identifies them by tracing family trees through relatives who voluntarily submit DNA to public genealogy databases. While incredibly effective for solving cold cases, the technique raises ethical questions about genetic privacy and the balance between public safety and individual rights. Despite the conviction, crucial questions remain. Prosecutor Tien Ho believes there may be more victims. People ask me, why did he stop in 1986? And my answer is, how do you know he stopped in 1986? There's a 3-year period from 1986 to 1989, when he was living in LA, that we're not sure. Many stolen items were never recovered. The full scope of his crimes may never be known. And the question remains, how did a former police officer manage to evade capture for over 40 years? The Golden State Killer case represents one of the most extensive criminal investigations in American history, spanning 11 counties, over 50 rapes, 13 murders, and more than 120 burglaries. For the survivors and victims' families, DeAngelo's capture brought a measure of justice, but not closure. The trauma he inflicted spanned generations. I cried and cried for hours when he was arrested. I could stop looking over my shoulder with fears of him sneaking up on me. No more thinking he would try and find and kill me too. Joseph James DeAngelo, the boy from Bath, New York, the Vietnam veteran, the police officer, the husband, the father, the grandfather, was also one of America's most prolific and calculating serial predators. His case reminds us that evil often hides in plain sight, that justice delayed is not always justice denied, and that the relentless pursuit of truth can eventually bring light to even the darkest corners of human experience. Joseph James DeAngelo is serving multiple life sentences without the possibility of parole at California Healthcare Facility in Stockton, California. He is designated as prisoner number JR 29481.